on AI specifically, just a couple of days ago, the main theme of ADIPEC in Abu Dhabi was energy for intelligence. So recognizing the need for more energy from all sources to meet the demand that comes from the adoption of artificial intelligence. If we see it as a multiplier for productivity and that provides a lot of benefits for socioeconomic growth and development, it's bound to be adopted, and there's going to be a need to provide power, right? So there's this anecdote that I'm not exactly sure where it comes from. Somebody said, knowledge is power. Sounds familiar, right? So we're entering a phase where it's the opposite. Power is becoming knowledge, where every electron converts into intelligence, which converts into work. So I think rather than investing significant amounts for the infrastructure of tomorrow, there is an opportunity to invest in increasing the efficiency in the system of today. One of these ways is through inter-regional power grids and handling energy efficiency. So my first question to you, Your Excellency, today is how do inter-regional power grids improve overall energy efficiency compared with purely intra-regional systems?
Okay. Good afternoon, and thank you very much for the invitation. And it is my pleasure actually to be with you all to discuss the energy efficiency in general and how that can be enhance our needs from the power. As you mentioned exactly before, we were focusing knowledge is the power, but now the power is the knowledge. Through the power, you can get this through the AI, you can use all the artificial intelligence, and this is very, I think, a critical subject. Now, if we are talking about the energy efficiency in general, when we talk about energy efficiency, we talk about reducing the power consumption, we are talking about reducing the emission, and also reducing the investment, saving the power itself, reducing the capital investment. All these factors, if we focus in the inter-regional grid, you will find it can add more value, it can add the resilience to the network, it can enhance your reserve capacity, rather than each country dedicated their reserve, a strategic reserve to support their grid. So you will have certain entity taking care from all the reserve required. And of course, reduction of the emission it is one key element, and the sustainability of the global agenda. Now, if we focus about the GCCIA as example, for those who I am sure you know about the Gulf Corporation Council Interconnection Grid or Authority. It is established in 2001, fully commissioned in 2011, and with the basic objective to build and operate the GCC grid, and also to build the platform for trade and exchange electricity. So there is different perspective and different objective for the GCCIA, the grid itself. Now, what added value from this grid, going back to the energy efficiency, it reduced the emission once commissioned in 2011 from 500 to 400,000 tons per year. And also it has reduced the reserve capacity between 20% to 25% from each country. So for these who, I'm sure aware about the reserve capacity, rather than just each country dedicate certain idle, let's say, volume for the reserve, to take care from any outages or challenges, emergency. So the entity of the GCCI can take care from this volume. And this will lead you to reduce the capital investment. So you will save the capital investment and the estimation around $3 to $5 billion saved as a total from each member country. In addition to that, you save the fuel and the operation cost. The GCCIA saved around $300 million each year just from this network. And just to conclude for this questions, according to the IEA, International Energy Agency, any cross-border, it depends on how big on the scale, but the average it can save, reduce, or it can save the consumption of fuel from 15 to 25 reduction from the fuel consumption. So you see, just to summarize, these are, by the connecting the grid, either bilateral or different countries will have a lot of benefit in terms of the national security, in terms of the economical aspect and operational aspect.
Thank you for that. I think when we look at the value that was achieved from over 2 decades, having an inter-regional cooperation on energy storage and distribution and allocation based on partnership, how fit is this for a future where this region becomes a capital for AI? To give you a few data points, over the past 12 months, the US added 12 gigawatts in data center capacity, invested a lot of money, and every gigawatt added, it required also the infrastructure, the energy storage. It's not a solved problem, right? This is going to be a future where if we're going to be on the global map as a capital for intelligence, where we want to be able to, invite the world to either train AI models, use AI models to inference, right? I think that OpenAI released this figure saying that in the Stargate facility in Abu Dhabi, they're going to cater to 4.4 billion people. So that's the radius of coverage, right? So my question is, what are the technical architectures, the control systems that are required to reliably integrate different sources of energy across geographies when there's a clear direction in surging demand in the very near future?
If we are talking about the renewable and mainly the solar system is unique. It is different than any other conventional source, where it is intermittent and non-dispatchable. So this by itself is a challenge, but the technology can solve it. If we are, just to highlight number of the aspect itself, the interconnection is one, but to absorb all this volume of the integration of the renewable source, you need advanced solution of technology to be safety and to be safe and to be secure, and to continue providing the stability in the grid, because you want to avoid any outages or disturbance in the grid. So back to the technology, you need to deploy, or we need as a government, to deploy the advanced technology solution. For example, the energy storage system. The batteries, one of them, and plus others. Another example is the grid control architecture. So it has to be smart. It has to be involve all the AI and the advanced forecasting algorithms in terms of the AI and machine learning. And also you need to have the real-time data reading in terms of supply and management. So for the control system, you have also, this the cybersecurity and the protocol has to be fully provided, and also the energy management system to coordinate and monitor all factors in the energy. We need also to have the distributed energy resources to manage properly the grid and the network, either the locally or the inter-regional grid.
So if we're going to go back to the mid-60s, early 70s, where there was a lot of evidence supporting the fact that this region, and Abu Dhabi specifically, would be a source of significant, oil and gas resources, and the likes of, Total, Exxon, others wanted to participate. They were ADNOC's first partners as soon as ADNOC was founded. In a world where we want to attract, Microsoft, AWS, and all these players, it's similar to the situation in the 70s, but now rather than having the advantage of, the natural resources, it has to do with the cost of providing intelligence, right? So what are the regulatory, market design, governance changes that are necessary to enable not just making, Abu Dhabi competitive in that space, but also catalyzing partnerships at a GCC level, right? For example, when there's a surge in demand in certain parts of, I don't know, it's seasonal, right, where there would be an allocation of nuclear in one area and less in others, how should we be thinking about an inter-regional grid of the future? What does that look like?
We have example already existed. So, you can learn from it and we build on it. The GCCIA, they sign what they call the regulatory, for the regulation, the joint grid treaty. With this agreement or treaty, there is defined all the responsibility and the roles for each member countries. In addition, also mentioning all the technical involvement, and also the financial contribution, the grid code, because each country has different grid code to do the connections. So how to match all these, the grid code technically together. So you need a lot of exercise has been done to clarify all these, the gap, to make the connection very successful. For the government or the governance, we have a strong foundation governance in the GCCIA. We have the planning committee, we have the operation committee, and we have something what called the ARC, Advisory and Regulation Committee. So where you have to coordinate with the different entities within the country and the member countries and the GCC, and you have to have the technical harmonization between all these agendas to make the grid flexible and resilience and reliable. So for the market design, there is another treaty signed between the all GCC countries to do the trading and exchanging electricity. So we define the price, we define the cost structure, we did all these structuring for exchange, import and export. So it is long exercise from signing the original commitment to go for the technical and governance for all this planning and the operation, to do trading and the value added and exchange, either bilateral or multilateral. The challenges is there, but we are starting to try to mitigate all these challenges and to build for the strong market exchange electricity trading within the countries. The objective also, it is bigger. It is, we want the GCC to be as a hub to connect other regions, either in Asia or to go to the North Africa, and even to reach Europe. So the plan is big, but we need to have a strong foundation for the grid electricity in the GCC area.
So when we look at the different sources of energy, storing hydrocarbons is a solved problem. It's very straightforward. Storing electrons is a very different challenge, right? And it would require access to, critical minerals, so lithium, copper, and other sources. And the refining capacity is very concentrated. The sourcing is also very concentrated. And the region isn't particularly there in the top 10 when it comes to either the production of the main critical minerals for renewable energy or in the processing of these. So could you talk more about how that could have an impact on the diversification of energy sources that contribute to this inter-regional grid? And when there are new sources of energy, for example, a new solar project that comes online, if the expectation is 99.999, 100 other 9% uptime, right? It would also require a significant investment in storage capacity as well. How are we addressing these issues or potential issues?
The diversification, it is, and the energy supply, it is very important and very significant. And UAE is the best example for the diversification of the energy. We have the nuclear, we have the gas and the fossil fuel in general, we have the nuclear, the wind, and we have the solar. Currently, we have around 6.8 gigawatt of the solar, and we are targeting to reach 22 gigawatt in 2031. So the number is big, and now to manage it, that's another challenge. As I said in the beginning, the solar or the clean or the renewable energy, it is intermittent. That means you don't have it every time. And if you have it, not necessarily you can use it, because maybe you don't need it when it is available, because it depends on the solar. So that's why it comes back to the energy system or the storage. Or as you mentioned, the industry for the data, because the data and AI, you need to have the consistent source of power available for the AI or data centers. So the industry can be absorb all this volume with the big demand. The interconnectivity with the different countries where they have the arbitrage, so you can sell the electricity when they need. This is another options. And the third one for the energy storage system. So putting all these combinations together, from the demand side, from the technology available, from the interconnectivity, it will help to absorb all this volume in the future.
So you mentioned that part of the reason why we can't guarantee uptime in solar is because it depends on the weather. It's beyond any power provider's control. So on the last point I wanted to touch on is, one, the climate benefits, and also two, the climate risks. Right? How can diversifying these energy sources and the storage of these energy sources give us a climate resilient energy infrastructure at an inter-regional level, right? And on the upside, what are the measurable climate benefits in emissions reductions? I think you mentioned a specific figure earlier, but based on the projections that you see over the next 10 years till 2050, how much in emissions reductions can be delivered by scaling this inter-regional interconnectivity within the GCC?
Each countries, even UAE, we start to have the net zero strategy in 2050. And also other countries, the same thing. And one key enabler to have the interconnectivity. So you can export the green electron to the demand of the member countries themselves. So one way is to have the interconnectivity to export all these access of source of energy available from the renewable. For the UAE, if we go to the carbon intensity in the grid, we are the cleanest grid in terms of the carbon emission. The emission from our grid currently around 300 kilogram of the CO2 emission from the each kilo hour for the electricity itself. We are targeting to reach 0.27 kilogram of CO2 emission for 1 kilowatt hour. If we take this, if we compare to the average globally, the average around 5.5 something, 500 something. So we are much below, and our target to go to the lower. So this by itself, it helps you to export the clean electricity to the member countries. And this is by having the joint cooperation between the member countries will facilitate reaching or to accelerate reaching to your agenda or the target from the climate change. And by cooperation, by partnership with the member countries, I think this will give more advantage for reaching our target for the net zero.
I think when we look at like the UAE AI strategy and our, Saudi's AI strategy and the GCC's AI strategies in general, there are different views on how to accommodate, the surge in power, expected surge in power demand in the near future as the installed base of data center capacity continues to increase. But I haven't seen any study or a report on how this inter-regional connectivity in the GCC specifically can position the region as a hub for intelligence globally. So thank you for sharing these data points. Thank you for sharing your experience. I think we learned a lot, so appreciate your time, and thank you again.